Welcome. I'm Steve Mordell, your instructor for the speed reading hand. You also need 2 rubber bands, 2 paper clips, a standard notebook, and I want to give you a little bit of background knowledge on reading and the reading habits that presently keep you from being a faster, more efficient reader. First of all, the average reading speed for an American in the United States today is 252 words per minute. But if you're reading anywhere between 150 and 350 words per minute, you are considered an average or normal reader. The question is, how do you go beyond what is average? Or another way of saying this is, what does a speed reader do or not do that an average reader does or doesn't do? Well, there are a number of differences. And one major difference is that an average reader reads 1 word at a time, while a speed reader will read groups of words at a time by using more of his natural vision or focus. And finally, an average reader pronounces all the words inside of his head silently as he reads. This is known as subvocalization, which means inner speech. Subvocalizing each and every word limits your reading speed to your speaking speed, and most people cannot talk faster than a few hundred words per minute, thus the average reading speed of 252. A speed reader, on the other hand, learns to reduce subvocalizing and pronounces only important and unfamiliar words on the page. Although he will see and understand all the words, he just doesn't pronounce them all. And those are the basic problems that we will be correcting in the speed reading hand program. But there is one last thing I want to talk about briefly before we actually begin. It is my experience that if there's one crucial element that will determine your success in anything, not only in speed reading, Welcome, class. Are you ready to learn how to speed read?
Yes. Yeah, right.
Okay, good. What you're about to find out is that speed reading is no different than any other sport or game that you've ever learned, and that you have to learn the basics to actually play the game. But understand, like any sport or game, the key to getting the basics down is repetition, doing them over and over again until the mechanics become second nature. You know, that's why baseball players take batting practice, and basketball players practice their free throws, and tennis players practice their serve. They do the basics over and over until they become subconscious or automatic. So I want you to be realistic. You'll see results fast enough, but don't expect to be an expert after the first few times you try one of these new speed reading techniques. To become an expert or proficient at any skill requires a certain amount of dedication and practice. So the more effort and energy you are willing to put into this program, the more you will get out of it. And with that understanding, let's begin. I want to introduce you now to your new speed reading machine, your hand. If you are right-handed, your right hand is now your reading hand. If you are left-handed, your left hand is now your reading hand. Your opposite hand will now be your page-turning hand. Now here is how you're going to hold your reading hand. Your thumb and index finger will be together, like you're making an OK sign, okay? Your other 3 fingers are also together, but when I say they're together, I don't mean real tight, and I don't mean loose either. I just mean comfortably together. Now here's what you're going to do now with your hand. I'm going to introduce to you what I call the speed reading hand alternative 1. And using this thumb and index finger hand position, you are now going to underline each and every line from margin to margin, as if you were underlining it with a pencil or a pen, but using your hand. You are focusing on the words directly above your tallest finger or fingers if 2 are about the same size. But no matter how fast you actually underline the line, and by the way, you should only go as fast as you feel comfortable and can easily see all the words. Don't worry about how fast you're going right now. But no matter how fast you go across that line, when you're done with that line, I want you to get your hand back to that next line as fast as you can, but as smoothly as you can. I do not want to see anybody doing something like this. This is not what I'm talking about. I don't want to see anybody doing, because that kind of a jerky motion would definitely become a distraction to your concentration. What I'm talking about, again, looks like this. When you're done with that line, you get your hand back to that next line as fast as you can, but as smoothly as you can, as if your hand was gliding or ice skating or skiing back to that next line. So it takes a couple minutes just to get used to the feel of your hand on that page. I want you to practice this for just a couple minutes, and I'm going to come around to make sure you're doing it correctly. That's good, Gail. That's a good, smooth motion. Now remember, you should be focusing on the words directly above your fingertips. And you want to keep your eyes and your hand together as best you can. One of the basics that we are working on right now is eye-hand coordination. That's good, Aaron. Nice, smooth motion. Good recovery time. Now, I do not want you to worry at all about comprehension at this point. Whenever we're learning something brand new, in the way of mechanics, all you should be concerned with are mastering them. Once you get the mechanics down, then we will concern ourselves with comprehension and reading. That's a real nice motion, Lee. Nice and smooth, and that's good recovery time. Okay, you can look up here now, and what I want to explain to you is how this very simple underlining technique can easily double your reading speed. But before I even get into that, I want you to do something for me first of all. I want you to count down 10 lines anywhere in that book. I don't care where, just count down 10 lines quickly.
You want us just to count down 10 lines?
That's all. Just count down 10 lines anywhere at all. Okay. Everybody have that done? Let me ask you this. How many of you, when you just counted up those lines, how many of you used your finger, a pencil, or a pen to help yourself do just that? All right, now why did you do that? I mean, why didn't you just let your eyes run down that page and count up all the lines all by themselves? Hey, you know, that's the way you've been reading for most of your lives. Why did you trust your eyes to do it this time around? Why? You know why. Again.
It's easier.
But why is it easier?
You don't lose your place.
Exactly. So what you're telling me is that you want to be accurate. And there are really only two ways that you can be inaccurate. You can either count the same line twice, or you can miss a line entirely. Isn't that the same problem that we talked about earlier as regression, where you reread lines that you've read before, not because you want to, but because your eyes just make a mistake. And for the exact same reason why you would be more accurate as you would count the lines with your finger, when you underline using your hand, your eyes don't have a guide. And because of this, they will not go over the same line over again or miss a line. And that's 1/6 of your reading time you get back just by using the hand as a pacer. But there was another problem that we talked about earlier that was even more significant. That's slow recovery time. The time it will take your eyes to get from the end of one line back to begin the very next line. And I told you about 1/3 of your reading time was spent doing that. And the reason why your eyes moving with your hand can get back to that next line faster than your eyes can by themselves is another very simple principle. Your eyes are attracted to motion. If you've ever been out in the woods and out of the corner of your eye you see something move, you know how quickly and instinctively your eyes will shoot toward that object. Well, that same principle works on the page. As soon as your hand shoots to that next line, it attracts the attention of your eyes. And obviously, the faster you would get your hand back there, the faster you would get your eyes back there. And that's why I'm encouraging you to do this. Now, if 1/3 of your reading time is spent searching for that next line, and 1/6 of your reading time is spent rereading lines you've read before, that's half of your reading time right there. And just by eliminating those two mechanical problems of the eyes, regression and slow recovery time, you can come pretty close to doubling your reading speed. And by doing nothing more than just using this very first simple underlining technique, most of you in here will do just that. So from this point on, I recommend that whenever you would sit down to read, you would use your hand as a pacer, whether it be for a newspaper, a book, a magazine, whatever. Because by using the hand each and every time, it will become habit. It will start to get automatic, and you'll do it without even thinking about it. But let's move on. The speed reading hand alternative 1 is a very good and effective beginning technique. But once you master alternative 1, you'll want to move on to something just a little more advanced. So I'm going to introduce a new hand motion to you, but with the understanding that you are not to move on to it until you've fully perfected alternative 1. And I call the second hand motion the speed reading hand alternative 2. Brilliant, huh? All right, now, this second hand motion in terms of the mechanics are not very much different than the very first hand motion. First of all, you're going to hold your hand exactly the same, thumb and index finger hand position. You're also going to underline line by line. But unlike alternative 1, where you underline the entire line from margin to margin, with alternative 2, you will underline only the middle third to 2/3 of the line, and you will allow your peripheral vision to pick up the words at the beginning and ending of each line. Now, everyone's span of vision is just a little bit different, and it can even be different from your right eye to your left eye. So you need to experiment to see how much that line you need to underline in order for you to see all the words. But I want to reemphasize that until you have mastered alternative 1, the hand motion we learned before alternative 2, you are not ready to actually use this hand motion to read with. But I want you to learn the mechanics right now so you will be ready when you get there. And by the way, the reason why alternative 2 is a faster hand motion than alternative 1, well, simply for this reason. First of all, with alternative 2, you still accomplish the purpose of giving your eyes a guide to get them from line to line. But you also give your eyes a little more freedom to use your natural span of vision, so your peripheral vision, to pick up the words at the beginning and end of each margin. And consequently, since you do not have to underline the entire line, it takes less time to get your hand to the next line. And since your eyes are following your hand, it takes them less time. Therefore, we reduce slow recovery time even more, and as well as make better use of your natural span of vision. Does that make sense to you why alternative 2 is a faster hand motion than alternative 1? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Now, you're going to learn the mechanics of alternative 2, or you're going to practice them right now, and you're going to find the range where you can see all the words underlining the middle third to two-thirds of the line, depending upon your span of vision. And I'm going to come around to make sure that you are doing it correctly. Remember, at this point, I do not want you to concern yourself at all about comprehension. All you should concern yourself with right now are the mechanics of this new hand motion and your vision. That's all. It's good. That's good, Mark. If you find that you are having trouble catching the corners, underline a larger percentage of that line. All right? In a couple minutes, I will be teaching you a new hand motion that will help to open up your focus. But until we get there, do the best you can seeing as many of the words in each line using alternative 2. That's good. All right. You stop right now, and I want to talk about something else for just a moment. These first 2 hand motions that you have just learned, alternative 1 and alternative 2, can be used to read with, and you will use them to read with. But I'm now going to teach you a new hand motion that you will never use to read with, but it has 2 purposes. The first purpose of this new hand motion will help to develop eye-hand coordination. The second purpose of this new hand motion will be to help to open up your focus, or maybe a better way of saying this is to use more of your natural span of vision. And I want to demonstrate to you what I'm talking about when I speak of your natural span of vision. And what I'd like you to do right now is I'd like you to open up that book you have in front of you to any 2 full pages. I don't care where, just 2 full pages anywhere else. Do that for me. Okay? And when you get that book open, I want you to focus on one of those pages as if you were getting ready to read it. I just want you to note how your eyes are focusing when you are getting ready to read. All right? Now, what are you seeing?
Well, I see one line.
Okay, Terry's focused on one line. How many other people in here are focused on one line? All right, everybody in here. And how many words on that one line are you focused on, Terry?
About 2.
2 words. What about you, Carolyn?
I only see one.
1 word. How about you, Gab?
I see 2 words.
Okay, how many would agree that they're focused on about 1 or 2 words in one individual line right now? All right, everybody in here. Now, here's what I want you to do for me now. Turn the book now upside down so that print is actually upside down. I want you to look at that same page again. All right? And the first thing I want to tell you about this is, don't try and read it this way because you can do that. I'd like to learn that myself. But I want you to notice now a difference in focus. Do you notice that with the book upside down, that you can easily see larger sections of that page, whole paragraphs now as if they were blocks or chunks of print? Well, obviously, they do not mean anything to you right now. It's sort of like looking at an abstract picture of design. But can you see what I'm talking about? Can't you see whole sections? All right, everybody can see that? Turn the book now right side up and watch now what will happen to your eyes. And take a look again. Do you notice that as soon as you recognize some of those words, your eyes have a tendency to want to zoom right back in on just 1 or 2 words in an individual line again? Okay? Is everybody seeing this happening? Now, if you think about this, physiologically, there is no reason for this change in the eyes to even occur. I mean, it's the same distance from your eyes. It's the same amount of space that you're dealing with. But the reason why this change occurs is simply the way you were conditioned or trained to read, starting way back when you were in the 1st grade. And in fact, we are going to change that coming up. But since reading and vision and your eyes are so closely linked, I want to talk a little bit about how your eyes work in terms of reading or, in fact, seeing anything. And when your eyes focus on anything, they must stop and actually fixate. And they are capable of making 4 to 5 fixations per second. And that's true whether you are an average reader or, for that matter, a speed reader. But the difference is that an average reader, if you are reading 1 word at a time, you would only cover 4 to 5 words in 1 second. But even though a speed reader still makes 4 to 5 fixations per second, in that each fixation they may take in as many as 4 to 6 words each time. So in that same 1 second, they will have read 15 to 30 words, where the average reader will read 4 to 5 words. And as you've already seen with the book upside down, your eyes are more than capable of seeing larger sections of print. And obviously, if you could see whole paragraphs with the book upside down, seeing only 4 to 6 words with the book right side up is not only possible, but actually more natural to the way your eyes work. And this new hand motion that you are about to learn is going to help to retrain your eyes to do just that. And I call this hand motion the snake, all right? And you're also going to use the thumb and index finger hand position one more time. But this hand motion, as I've already told you, I'll say it again, you will never use to read with. This is strictly for eye-hand coordination and opening up your focus. And this is what the snake looks like. It is like you're slithering that hand down the page, like zigzagging back and forth, just as I'm showing you right now. Now, because this hand motion is very fast, it is done at approximately 1 second per page, it becomes necessary to have a way of turning pages effectively, as well as a way to keep the book stationary from jumping around. So I'm going to show you right now, first of all, how you get a book ready, especially a paperback book. And the first thing you do to break in a paperback book, especially if it is brand new, is you take the front and back cover of the book, and you will run your index finger as close to the center crease as you can get it there. Okay? Then what you want to do is you want to take about 5 to 7 pages on each side and run your index finger as close to the center crease again. And then 5, 6, 7 pages again on both sides and run your